You are trapped, not by iron bars or high walls, but by something far more powerful and insidious, your own mind. The most dangerous prisons are the ones you cannot see, because they make you believe that you're free, yet you are not. You have been conditioned from the moment you were born to think, act, and live in a way that conforms to societal expectations. This conditioning didn't come from a secret cabal or a shadowy elite. It came from familiar faces, your parents, teachers, peers, and even your culture. But the most potent chains are forged by your own mind, which internalizes these influences until they become invisible rules guiding every decision you make. You might think you're living freely, making choices out of your own free will. But are you? Or are you merely playing out a script written by others? This is the psychological trap Carl Jung warned about. A prison built from the persona you show the world and the shadow you hide even from yourself. Today we're diving deep into this mental labyrinth, exploring how your identity was constructed, and more importantly, how you can break free. The formation of identity. Who are you? It seems like a straightforward question, but it's one of the most complicated puzzles you will ever face. Your identity is a collection of beliefs, values, habits, and preferences. But where did they come from? From the moment you were born, you started absorbing information like a sponge. You learned how to behave, what to believe, and even how to perceive yourself through the feedback you received from others. Every compliment, every criticism, every silent expectation shaped you, molding you into the person you are today. But did you truly choose this identity, or was it chosen for you? Society imposes invisible rules about what is acceptable and desirable, influencing everything from your career ambitions to your sense of morality. As a child, you were rewarded for compliance and punished for defiance. You learn to conform to survive. This is how the persona is born. It's the social mask you wear to fit in and be accepted. But the more you conform, the more you lose touch with your true self. And the more distant you become from who you truly are, the more the shadow grows in the depths of your unconscious. The persona, the social mask that suffocates you. Have you ever caught yourself acting in a way that doesn't feel authentic? Perhaps laughing at a joke you don't find funny, agreeing with an opinion you secretly disagree with, or pretending to be happy when you're actually hurting inside. This is your persona at work, the social mask you wear to navigate the complexities of society. Carl Jung defined the persona as the version of yourself you present to the world to be accepted. It's the good side of you, the one that conforms to social norms and avoids conflict. From childhood, you learned which behaviors brought approval and which led to rejection. So you adapted, suppressing traits that were deemed undesirable while amplifying those that won praise. Be polite, be agreeable, be successful, smile even when you're sad, suppress your anger, hide your fears, pretend to be confident even when you're full of self-doubt. Over time, this mask becomes so ingrained that you forget it's just a role you play. You become the persona, losing touch with the authentic self buried beneath. But the more you identify with the persona, the more you suffocate your true self. The persona is not inherently evil. It helps you function in society by smoothing social interactions. But when you over-identify with it, you risk losing your authenticity, leading to feelings of emptiness, anxiety, and a sense of living someone else's life. This is the cost of conformity, the slow erosion of your true self. But the story doesn't end here, because behind the persona lurks the shadow. The shadow, the hidden self you fear to face. For every light, there is a shadow. And for every persona, there is a hidden self you refuse to acknowledge, the shadow. This is the part of you that contains everything you were taught to reject: your anger, your fears, your forbidden desires, and even your hidden talents. Why do you hide these parts of yourself? Because society labeled them as bad or unacceptable. As a child, you were told not to be too loud, too emotional, or too ambitious. So you buried those traits, disowning them to gain acceptance. But just because you repress these qualities doesn't mean they disappear. In fact, they grow stronger the more you try to ignore them. The shadow operates in the dark, influencing your behavior in ways you don't consciously realize. Have you ever overreacted to a minor inconvenience, felt an intense dislike for someone without knowing why, or sabotaged your own happiness? That's your shadow at work. It's the part of you that you have denied, projecting itself outward in unhealthy ways. You see, the traits you despise in others often reflect the parts of yourself you refuse to accept. If you hate arrogance, perhaps you suppress your own confidence. If you dislike attention seekers, maybe you secretly crave recognition but are too afraid to pursue it. Jung warned that the more you suppress the shadow, the more power it gains over you. It leads to emotional outbursts, passive aggression, anxiety, and even self-sabotage. But if you find the courage to face it, the shadow becomes a source of strength and authenticity. The inner conflict, persona versus shadow, there is a war inside you, a battle between the persona you show the world and the shadow you hide from even yourself. This internal conflict creates a psychological tension that drains your energy, clouds your judgment, and keeps you feeling lost. On the surface, you play your roles: the responsible employee, the loving partner, the dutiful child. You conform to societal expectations, hiding your true thoughts and feelings to avoid rejection. But deep down, your shadow resents this charade, rebelling against the false identity you've created. This rebellion often manifests in self-destructive behaviors: procrastination, addiction, anger, and depression. You feel like you're living a lie, trapped in a life that doesn't feel like your own. This is the war between the persona and the shadow. One wants to be accepted, the other wants to be authentic. But they are not enemies, they are parts of the same whole. The only way to end this internal war is through integration. Individuation, the path to wholeness. Carl Jung called the process of reconciling the persona and the shadow individuation, the journey of becoming whole and authentic. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself that you have abandoned and integrating them into a cohesive self. Step 1. Awareness of the persona. Start by observing when you wear your social mask. When do you fake a smile or suppress your real thoughts? When do you act a certain way just to fit in? Becoming aware of the persona is the first step toward breaking free from its control. Step 2. Confronting the shadow. Identify the traits in others that trigger you the most. What do they reveal about the parts of yourself you've rejected? Write down your negative emotions, fears, and desires without judgment. Acknowledge them as part of your human experience. Step 3. Integrate the shadow instead of denying your shadow. Find a healthy way to express it. If you suppress anger, learn to be assertive. If you fear failure, take calculated risks. Channel your hidden traits into creativity, art, writing, or even humor. Step 4. Authenticity over approval. Stop living for external validation. Make decisions based on your values and desires, not societal expectations. Embrace vulnerability, allowing yourself to be imperfect and real. True freedom comes when you no longer need to wear a mask. The liberation of self-acceptance. Individuation is not about becoming someone new, it's about rediscovering who you truly are beneath the layers of conditioning. It's about embracing both the light and the shadow within you, becoming whole and authentic. This is the journey Carl Jung spoke of, the quest for self-awareness and freedom from the psychological trap keeping you lost. Are you ready to take the first step? Your journey to liberation starts now.